Hello and welcome back to the Apple Box Chronicles. My name is Peyton Buto.
And I'm Adryon Thomas.
And today on the ABCs, we are taking you from A to Z on the American New Wave classic road trip film TWO-LANE BLACKTOP for our Criterion Collection review series, Out of the Closet.
Yeah, and I picked this movie this time because this is a very special movie. This holds a very special place in my heart. I can't even really explain all that much why, but I love this movie. And the reason why it's on this segment is because it was a blind buy for me when I got it from the Criterion several years ago, and it stuck with me for all those years. And I just kind of wanted to go over it and talk about it with you guys. But I guess I should start off with why I just kind of randomly bought this movie. And it was earlier on in my days where I was really getting into Criterion, and I was just kind of looking through all of them and just kind of seeing what looked cool and what didn't. And I think I was just looking, and for those who are watching, we have both the DVD and the Blu-ray copies of this. For those listening, I'm looking at the at the Blu-ray copy right now, but I think the reason why it kind of caught my attention was because of the cars, because there's a 55 Chevy in this movie, and it's the same car that was used in American Graffiti, which I've always been a huge fan of. And it also stars James Taylor, the James Taylor, the singer, and it also stars Dennis Wilson, who's the drummer from the Beach Boys. And I was just like, what is this movie? It kind of sounds amazing, and to me it was amazing. I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. I didn't know a movie like this existed. And I also got into Monty Hellman, the director, after watching this, and then I got into The Shooting and Ride the Whirlwind, which is also on Criterion, which I picked up, I think, immediately after TWO-LANE BLACKTOP. But yeah, it just kind of caught my attention, and it was like a miracle. It was like, there's this perfect movie out there that I didn't know existed until I just randomly bought it.
I do remember when we met and we followed each other on Letterboxd, you had in your bio, I think you still do, something along the lines of, I've never related to any character in any movie except for the 55 Chevy and TWO-LANE BLACKTOP.
Yeah.
It's like your favorite car. I wish you guys could see. We actually have on the wall over there like a set of, those portraits where they're separated, but they all are pieces of the same picture, and you put them all next to each other with little separation. We have a photo from this movie up there that he got.
Yeah, it has the 55 Chevy and the GTO from the movie.
Right.
It's pretty cool. I got it. My our other roommate, Reed, my friend, he got it for my birthday one year.
Yeah, he and I were watching the movie, and I pointed it out. I was like, that's the shot that's on our wall right over there.
Yeah. But I love the movie as I said, but what was your reaction to it?
It was good.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, before we go into your initial reaction, I kind of felt like you weren't gonna love this movie as much as I do at all. I felt like you. I was interested just to kind of see what your reaction to the movie was, because I knew you weren't gonna love it like I did, but I was just kind of interested to see what you thought of in general, because I feel like most people when they watch this movie will maybe be bored by it, or it's not a very fast movie, even though it has fast cars in it. There are times where they do go very fast, but it's a very quiet movie. It's almost existential in its depiction of these drivers and their loneliness across the country, and it's not as exaggerated and out there as some of the other new American New Wave movies that were coming out at the time. It was very low key, and that's part of the reason why I liked it. But I know that a lot of people, especially today, if they saw this movie, would just think it's really boring.
Yeah, I didn't think it was really boring. I just kind of felt like I wasn't feeling what I was supposed to feel watching it. I thought the cars were interesting. I definitely thought the scenes where they were working on the cars were, like, weirdly engaging, because I just don't know a lot about cars. And, I mean, some of the characters were fun. I always love to see Harry Dean Stanton just pop up in a movie for no reason.
Yeah.
He's great. And it was well shot, and I think... Who did the music for this movie?
The music?
Like, is there, like, the soundtrack?
There's a soundtrack, but I don't actually know who does the music. I don't know if there is a score for this movie.
That's what I'm trying to think, because I remember there being music in it, but I don't remember if it was like a score or just a soundtrack.
It's probably part of the soundtrack. There's it has some. I can't think of it off my mind, but when I was watching it, I was just like, "Oh yeah, it does have this song. It's pretty great."
Yeah,
but yeah, you just thought it was okay.
I just thought it was okay. I really don't. It's one of those things where when we were prepping the episode, I was like, I don't know how to really talk about this movie at length.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you know so much more about it that is more interesting, and this is more of an educational experience for me talking about this one.
Yeah, because it would be interesting if you were the one who, like, blind bought it and didn't really know anything about it, and you just were like, oh... I guess this is a movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a movie you would fall in love with over several watches.
Yeah,
and not just one.
Yeah, I think that could be true for a lot of people. I think it wasn't the case for me. I just, like, fell in love with it immediately. I guess we should just go into why that is. Like, there's we'll go over some of the people in it and who made it and what the movie's kind of about. And I think one of the biggest reasons why this movie just kind of, like, was perfect for me was because it starred James Taylor. Because I love James Taylor. I don't know why, but I think it was, like, the first time I heard Fire and Rain. And I was just like, that song's so good. And then I just got into James Taylor, and he is legitimately one of my favorite artists of all time. And just the fact that this is one of the only... I think this is the only movie he's ever, like, acted in. And it's just kind of random, because I don't... If you listen to his music or you're really into James Taylor, he doesn't seem like a car guy. He's more like... I guess... He is kind of, in a sense, like, got this ruggedness about him, but he's also very gentle, kind of he seems like a very, like, nice, well put together person. But I don't see him as the driver, which nobody has names in this movie. They're all called by, like, what they're associated with. So James Taylor is called the driver, and Dennis Wilson is called the mechanic because he's the mechanic.
Do you think that that inspired Drive with Ryan Gosling?
No. I think The Driver, the movie called The Driver, inspired Drive.
Oh.
Which is a movie with God, I forgot his name. It's another Ryan. It's the guy from Barry Lyndon.
Oh yeah, I forget his name.
But yeah, it was directed by Walter Hill, actually. Which is another great car movie. If you guys want to get into something a little bit more fast-paced, action-y, but also that kind of quiet man drive-like movie.
So this is like the forgotten one.
Because
did this come out before The Driver or after?
Before, I believe. This came out in 1971.
Right. No, it says 1971.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this came out, like, right as the counterculture thing was happening in America with, like, Easy Rider and The Graduate and all those movies coming out. And this was, like, again, like I said, very low key compared to those, because you've seen Easy Rider, right?
No.
Oh, really? Well, Easy Rider is pretty similar to this movie. It's like two guys going cross country, but they're on motorcycles and they're picking up people and doing a bunch of drugs. And it was very much more about that like hippie lifestyle and that counterculture thing going on. You know, guys with long hairs were like disliked. They're like, "Ah, cut your hair, hippie." Um, but this movie's not like that. It's in a way it feels way more realistic than Easy Rider is. Easy Rider was also way more experimental with like its editing and like just how it went along with the story. This is like if you're just watching it, it looks like a normal movie, but I think that it does do a lot of cool stuff, and it's the way they shoot it. Because I remember the director Monty Hellman was trying to convince the producers or the studio that you could make a movie about people being driving a car, and you could still make it look interesting, and it kind of shows like you don't really stick with one like camera position within the car for very long, or they repeat it. They use a lot of different ways to shoot people in the cars and the cars going by and them outside of the car. So like it's not like repetitive in the way it's looking. It's actually a really good looking movie.
Yeah.
It's got that old school 70s look to it that I just love. But yeah, that's one of the big reasons was James Taylor being in this movie, and the car as well. And I believe one or two of the cars used in this movie was also used in American Graffiti. And American Graffiti's again another one of my favorite movies of all time, and just the fact that those two movies have the same car in it, it's really cool to me.
Yeah, I feel like there's always stuff like that where you already like one movie, and then when you see another movie that has just this niche similar component to it, you're immediately drawn to it.
Yeah.
I can't think of a specific example, but that's definitely happened to me before.
Yeah. But I was also well, when I first looked up like who was like a part of this movie and who made it, I was surprised to see that it was written by Rudolph Wurlitzer or Rudy Wurlitzer, who did like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, the Sam Peckinpah movie.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. Bob Dylan's in that movie.
That's true.
Yeah, and he doesn't say a lot, but he throws a knife and it's really funny looking.
And he did Walker.
He did Walker. Alex Cox. Have you seen that one?
No, but I love Repo Man.
It's so good. Walker is so good. It's probably just as good as Repo Man. The experimentation they do and the way they're telling that story is just amazing. But yeah, it was Rudy Wurlitzer, really interesting writer. Not that I could see. It doesn't. All those movies are very different from each other, so it's kind of interesting to see him write a movie as low key and quiet as this, and then do a movie like Walker, which is a bit more outlandish in ways. But also, it's directed by Monty Hellman, which I really got into after like watching this movie, because I was like, I need to see all this guy's stuff. And if he was, I think he was a lot bigger in like the 70s and a bit of the 80s, but he kind of stopped making movies after that. I don't think he got a lot of money after a while, because I just don't think studios trusted him a lot. But he I love like pretty much all the stuff that I've seen. I haven't seen the bad movies. Like he did Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 or 4, and that's considered terrible. But again, I think you were just doing that for money at that point. Other movies he's done is The Shooting and Ride the Whirlwind, like I said earlier. Those have Jack Nicholson in it, and Jack Nicholson was one of the earlier collaborators he worked with. Ride the Whirlwind is actually written by Jack Nicholson, so that's kind of cool. And those were westerns, and they were considered part of the acid western genre, which is a kind of a niche genre, but it's kind of like the slow burn, hallucinogenic type of genre that takes place within the Western area of it's a really interesting one, but there's not a lot of them out there. I think others include I'm blanking. I know there's one by Robert Downey Sr. I can't remember the name though. I'm kind of blanking on these westerns, but basically
okay.
they were part of that. He also did Cockfighter.
Dude, I want to see Cockfighter bad. I know you have it,
and it's amazing. I actually do love that movie.
There's the tagline for that is one of the best taglines.
Yeah, it's I think he said it's like what he has in what he brings in.
I think it says like he has a cock in his hands.
Yeah.
What he will do with it is illegal in
like 48 states
or
something.
Yeah.
it's really good, actually.
We're talking about a chicken, by the way.
Yeah, Cockfighter is about, chicken fights. And I do believe that a bunch of chickens get like actually killed on screen, which is unfortunate, but it's a good movie. It's actually really interesting. It has Warren Oates in it as well, but he's mute the entire time. Wow. He doesn't speak. Like, I think there's one or two scenes where he speaks, but the entire time he goes on like a vow of silence and he doesn't speak at all.
And you love Warren Oates.
Yeah, that's another reason why I love this movie is because Warren Oates is in it, and I do generally. He's one of my favorite actors, at least one of my favorite like character / leading actors of his time. Laurie Bird is in this as well, and she's also in Cockfighter too. And she was kind of like Monty Hellman's muse, is what I have been taught to believe. But she's been in a few of his movies, this and Cockfighter in particular. Unfortunately, she did commit suicide at a really young age, so she's not with us anymore. And neither is Monty Hellman. He died a few years ago, but yeah, I think her passing was kind of rough on him and several people at the time. And I think those are like the main people in this movie. There's not a lot of characters in this movie.
Yeah.
It's really just the hitchhiker, the girl, the driver, the mechanic, and then the goat, the GTO guy.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of an ensemble factor going on especially with the way it names the characters.
Yeah. I like how it's a very intimate movie, but you never actually know anything about the characters.
Yeah, they're all kind of mysterious, which I didn't really help me too much. I kind of like when I feel like they stay mysterious, and I kind of like when movies like slowly over time, like you kind of start to realize what they're all about. And I guess there is like a little bit here and there, but it's like I never felt like I really was connecting with any of them, to be honest.
I mean, that makes sense. I think they do reveal themselves throughout the movie, but it's just
subtler.
It's a lot subtler, and it's not necessarily about their like personal past, but more about their inner, like how they kind of, how do I explain? It's more about like how they're perceived by other people.
Right.
For instance, Warren Oates, throughout the movie, he's constantly lying about who he is, and by the end of the movie, he basically takes on the story of the driver. I guess I'm spoiling the movie at this point.
I mean, it's fine. We're like dissecting
there's
the
not
movie.
There's not much of a like true like story plot going on.
There's not much to spoil.
It's more of a vibe.
Yeah.
But basically, Warren Oates' character GTO gets into a cross country race with James Taylor and Dennis Wilson's characters, and whoever gets to the final destination wins the other person's car. And it seems like Warren Oates is taking this race very seriously, where the other two guys are just like, we do this for a living. Like you could tell that they know that they're gonna win, but they kind of take it as it happens. They don't really even care about it. They're just doing it just to do it, almost in this macho way of proving themselves, but not so in your face. It's more like a personal thing. It's like, we could beat you. Like, look, your car looks like hot shit. Like, it's all cool and all, but we could definitely beat you in this thing. But Warren Oates is he's so cocky that he's like, no, there's no way. I could definitely get you guys, even though he's the only driver, and they could like swap each other and like drive like all night and all day if they wanted to. But as the movie kind of progresses, they kind of become friends as they're like trying to race across country. And even Warren Oates' car has a problem at some point, and they're like, we'll fix it for you. We'll help you fix it.
Yeah.
Because they don't care. And as I was getting to it, by the end, neither of them reached the destination where they emailed, where they actually mailed their
they send an email
their pink movie slips to DC, which was their destination. They kind of just like part ways.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that was the Laurie Bird character, the hitchhiker girl. They were, in a way, it wasn't a competition of who would win the race. It was who was going to get the girl.
Yeah.
And nobody gets the girl at the end. She hitchhikes with another guy. She really is like pretty nihilistic the entire time. She's just kind of going place to place. She a true hippie in the sense. Even when she at the end, when she goes with some random biker, she just drops her stuff off because she can't take it on the bike, and it just kind of shows that she really doesn't care. Like, she never cared about the James Taylor character or the Warren Oates character, who are both kind of like, we could drive you wherever you want. We could like they're trying to like romance her up and whatnot, but she doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's another theme of what this movie is about, is kind of the nihilism of the people of that time, and the sense of loneliness, especially the James Taylor character. You could tell he's an extremely lonely person whose only main passion is driving that car, but everything else in his life seems to be non-existent.
But all you need is that one thing.
Yeah. Where was I starting off with this, though? I guess
I don't know. I think you just started talking about Laurie Bird and just took off with it.
Yeah. I guess what I was talking about, Warren Oates' like character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, by the end of the movie, he picks up another hitchhiker, because throughout the movie he's picking up hitchhikers and like giving them rides because he likes to talk, and he's just talking his head off with these people. He's even repeating himself constantly.
He's just like me.
But kind of not really. But at a certain point near the end, every time he talks to another hitchhiker, he kind of takes on another personality. He's like, yeah, I used to build jets, or I used to own a company, or something.
He is Cooper Trapp.
For those who don't know, he's Peyton Love's Trap. But, I mean, I'm sure all of you guys know by now. Especially if you're from TikTok.
Just give it like a month.
Yeah. But he kind of takes on the driver personality, the James Taylor personality. When he picks up the last hitchhiker, he's like, yeah, I used to have this 55 Chevy, and I won it racing these two guys, but I wanted to drive this car instead. Some like in that sense. And you could kind of tell that he's been doing that the entire time with each hitchhiker and each person he meets. He kind of takes their story as his own, which is a pretty interesting character.
He is a pretty interesting character.
And I think that might go over people's head until that moment where he takes on James Taylor's character.
Yeah.
For the Dennis Wilson character, he's probably the least interesting, and yet the one having the most fun in this, because he's just kind of, in a way, like the Laurie Bird character. He doesn't really care, but at least he's loyal. He's loyal to the car and to James Taylor.
Oh, he's a bit like
he's like Chewbacca.
I was gonna say Chewbacca, but I feel like it's more like R2-D2. Like, yeah, he's around. I feel like Chewbacca is more emotional. He cares more.
A little bit. But, yeah, all these characters are just kind of vibing on their way to a race that they'll never finish. And I don't know. I like that. There's just so many parts of this movie that I just like individually, and then the fact that they're all together, I think that's the reason why I really love this movie.
It's definitely a you movie.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, it's got that 70s. It's got cars.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But we kind of wanted to go over a bit of, like, the American New Wave films that kind of surrounded the time when this movie came out.
Yeah, just to give an idea of, like, where this kind of belongs in film history, what surrounds it. Like what the context of it is.
Well, we talked a little bit about Easy Rider. I didn't know you hadn't seen that yet, though.
No, yeah, I didn't know you didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just assumed you saw it. But you put down Last Picture Show.
Last Picture Show is one of my favorites of this kind of era of film, because we just watched it, I think, last year. And I don't know, I just thought the characters in that movie were so fun. And I love, like, that Jeff Bridges performance is really great.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really funny. Like, it is a little bit of a hangout movie. It's a sad movie, but it is really funny.
It is really funny.
There are some lines in there, like, I remember Jeff Bridges saying, "You're just not that good of a coxman." It's like, that's crazy. The verbiage that they use, the dialogue style is really good. But yeah, it ends up being a little bit... not a little bit. It is quite sad by the end.
Oh yeah, very. It's like, I always thought it was pretty sad throughout, with funny moments happening in between.
I guess you could say that, yeah. But I feel like it really didn't hit me just how sad it was until the end.
Yeah, and I think the reason why that movie and TWO-LANE Blacktop are very similar is because it kind of hones in on that sense of these people are are kind of in like a dying society. Like, TWO-LANE Blacktop in a way is kind of like a western. It was like a quiet western where instead of, cowboys, you have people who drive fast cars, and instead of like dueling, they have these races. But cowboys and these drivers, they're both very lonely people and very sad, depressed people. And Last Picture Show is pretty similar. These people are in kind of this changeover of culture, which is what was happening with the American New Wave. That's why it was called the counterculture movement, because there was kind of this change in the way people were dealing with stuff. Like, after all of World War II and all these baby boomers, and they're trying to figure out like what they're doing with their lives. That's why all these hippies doing drugs and stuff and trying to expand their minds and having a lot of sex, and just kind of expanding what they know and what they were told. And these movies kind of capture that as well. So Last Picture Show, in a sense, even though it takes place in the past, like, I think it takes place in maybe the 40s or 50s. I don't remember. But it still takes on that idea that we're going into another society. We're going into another era. And you could kind of see, like, the dead part of it and you could see how it's dying off. And I think it's the same way with two-lane blacktop, because you have this old car, this 55 Chevy, that's like beating all these other cars, and it's even back then it's kind of a relic. Like it's at the time like around 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see all these newer cars like the GTO, and they're getting more stylish and they're cooler and they're sleeker, but they're not as fast. They're not as fast as they used to be. And I mean, obviously cars are getting faster nowadays, but the movie kind of points out that, you know, there was a past where doing all this stuff, driving and having that kind of cruise lifestyle, kind of like in American Graffiti, where they're all really into their cars and cruising. That kind of part of society is dying out, and as you can see, it has died out. Nobody cruises anymore. Nobody's just like chilling and driving in their cars the way they used to. And I think a lot of the movies from the American New Wave were kind of showcasing that.
And I mean, in a way, it's kind of like Yojimbo. The way that movie has that subtext about the samurai way being like a dying kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you have not to get off topic, you have the character with the gun in the movie. It's like the only threat to the samurai, and then it's like that kind of eclipses what, the samurai being the strongest out there. And it's almost like all these movies are about a fear or just seeing, you're kind of like obsolescence on the horizon,
Yeah. It also kind of reminds me, at least Yojimbo kind of reminds me of Harakiri? How do you say it? Harakiri?
Harakiri?
Harakiri.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's more like the samurai used to mean something, but then kind of corruption took over, and like this sense of like elitism kind of took over.
Yeah.
And it's the same everywhere whenever some kind of counterculture happens, where there used to be a peak time for something, but then as it drops off, it loses all its like true meaning.
Yeah,
and respect.
Exactly.
Other topics we wanted to talk about, or other movies we wanted to talk about, was Vanishing Point. I know you haven't seen that one.
Nope.
But it has the same car that's in Death Proof.
I haven't seen that either.
Oh man.
But yeah, I know the car.
But yeah, it's that white. I think it's a Dodge. I believe. But anyway, that movie's very similar to. It's this guy just kind of racing. Again, cross country. I haven't seen it in several years, so I might not remember all of what happens in the story. But basically, he's getting like chased by the cops, and he's being chased down by people. But people are rooting for him because I think at the time, again, hippies are trying to figure out their meaning in life, and they wanted to kind of expand and express themselves, and they didn't like authority and that kind of authoritarian presence of police and the military and the government, which was happening again. It's kind of secular, all this stuff. It's like we go through these changes in culture, which are kind of expanding people's minds and opening them up to what's happening in society, but after a while people forget and they have to relearn again. And I think we're in that phase once more, like we were in the 70s, where people are again not trusting the government because of lies and deception. And I think in terms of art and movies, they were trying to branch out and defy that oppression, like even with nudity and sex, you didn't see all that stuff like around the Code era, like the Hays Code era, because they were being oppressed with that stuff, and they had to like find ways around it. But when they kind of lifted the code and you were kind of more free to do whatever you wanted to do on the screen, you were able to express more reality and go through more like realistic depictions of things. And that's why Midnight Cowboy was a big hit, because you could talk about, male prostitution and these people in the movies, drugs and the type of people that you weren't allowed to really show in, say, the 50s, 40s, even early 60s. And I think that's kind of what's so cool about that American New Wave, was it was really expanding what you can show and what you can talk about on the screen that you weren't really able to do beforehand. And I think Vanishing Point was just one way to express that, people were trying to get away from that oppressive feeling of, the government and just everything.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna come back around in terms of movies with that kind of idea. And I think we're already seeing that with movies like Sinners. And because that's kind of opening up people's like perspectives, and like it's like, oh, this is a great movie, it's original, but it's also about, what black people have gone through and what they're continuing to go through, and people of color. And I think we're just pushing again more into that direction of like expanding people's perspectives on things.
Yeah, I mean, when a movie like Sinners comes out, it's always really interesting because it kind of has this effect on audiences when it gains that. It finds its way into the general populace in terms of how people like actually are seeing it and responding to it. Whereas a lot of other, there are other great original films all the time, but people, they often just do moderate to not so well. Yeah. But when something like Sinners really explodes in popularity, which is a great thing, you'll see a lot of people being like, oh, I didn't know like a movie could be like this.
Yeah.
And you kind of see how it makes those waves,
Yeah. And I think that's really cool, and I'm excited because that means we're going to get more movies like that, where filmmakers are going to try to expand on what we thought we were used to, and we're going to see more things that we probably haven't seen before, because after a while movies can start to be stale after riding a certain wave for a while. Like we'll talk about in the remakes episode, which
just came out. Like we we will have released it. We're releasing it right after we record.
Well, we talked about with the remakes, like it's getting to that point where people are getting tired of it, a bit stale of it, and I think there will be a change at some point.
I think certain people are, but unfortunately they still make financially money. Just do so well. It's a hard thing.
But I do think that we're probably gonna at a certain point pretty soon reach kind of the tipping point where studios are gonna be like, we probably shouldn't be remaking every single thing that we have,
right?
Because at a certain point it'll just like be pretty obvious, like, oh, you guys just don't care. You're just retreading ground that we've already been on.
Yeah, I think honestly we just need to stop seeing them. Like it, even if they're good. Some of them are good.
Yeah.
But I feel like you kind of just have to be like, it doesn't even matter if it's good. You're just by principle, you're just doing the same thing over again.
Yeah. But we've talked about that.
We talked about that already. Yeah.
All right. I also kind of wanted to talk about I don't, what year was it? It was like 2004 or something. They did a tribute album called "You Can Never Go Fast Enough," which is just a bunch of bands and artists coming together and making songs for this movie. just based on the movie.
That's
Like,
crazy.
yeah, like Cat Powers in it, Sonic Youth, Will Oldham, Wilco. Will Oldham's like that makes sense. If you've ever seen the guy or if you've seen his acting or heard his music.
So Will Oldham, he's the guy from A Ghost Story.
Yeah.
He gives the big monologue in that movie. He's from a Kelly Reichardt film called Old Joy. He's in that. He's in The Bike Riders,
Yeah.
which I think goes a lot to Easy Rider
Yeah, sure.
as well. So it's like, the Bike Riders, seeing him show up, it's like, of course.
I mean, yeah, Bike Riders again. It's about this movie about change, like
Absolutely.
changing culture.
And you said something when that came out. You said it kind of feels like an older film.
Yeah,
It does.
yeah. It feels like a movie that would come out in the new American New Wave.
And I absolutely love that movie.
Yeah, I've actually grown to like it quite a bit since.
I would
the
like to
first
give
time I
that a
saw it.
rewatch pretty soon.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel like we need more movies like that. Like,
Yeah.
just like these. They're not as extravagant and bombastic and crazy, because I feel like a lot of movies are constantly trying to be new and edgy and fresh and different, and it doesn't always work, and sometimes it just comes off as ironically cliche. Whereas movies kind of like Bike Riders, it isn't very like in your face and flashy. It's more smaller and intimate, but also very detailed and interesting. Like, it's just interesting to hear about these people that you usually you hear about, but you don't really know.
Yeah. No, great film, really. I mean, it was one of my favorite movies of last year for sure.
Yeah.
So we can talk a little bit about the Criterion release itself.
Yeah. I feel like it's very interesting that this movie got as popular as it is. Again, because I always, as much as I loved it, I always felt in myself that not as much other people would love it. But it seems like a lot of people do love it.
Yeah.
Enough for a Criterion to pick it up, and it's even, I think, on the National Film Registry, as being culturally significant. Like, it's in the Library of Congress.
Really?
Yeah, where I think it's every year or something, they put out a list of movies that are considered culturally significant, that they kind of preserve those movies forever, so that, I don't know, just for historical
Yeah, I think I hear
context.
people like say that all the time. They're like, put this in there.
Yeah.
It's like fucking Magic Mike 2. They're like, put this shit in there. And I agree.
Yeah. But again, interesting that they picked movies like this for that. But I think it also does make sense that they would, because it says cultural significance, and this is a movie that is definitely significant in the time that it came out, and like what it was about and what it was showcasing and doing. So that's really cool. There's also sorry. There's also a lot of supplements on here, a lot of like special features. We'll kind of like, I could kind of list off here, but there's interviews with obviously the director, Monty Hellman, James Taylor, but also with Chris Christopherson. There's like an interview between him and Monty Hellman, the producer, the production manager. There's a bunch of outtakes and screen tests. There's this little like slideshow, I guess, where they talk about the 55 Chevy and like the cars that were used in this movie and how they
Nice.
kind of tracked it down, and they talk a bit about American Graffiti in that as well, and a few other stuff in here. There's also commentary, audio commentaries as well.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I saw. I don't think I listened to any of the commentaries, which is kind of crazy because I usually always do that for movies that I love, especially as much as this. But I did see a few of the interviews on here. But there's a commentary with Hellman and Allison Anders, who is a filmmaker as well. She was kind of along the lines of like Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And there's another one with the screenwriter and an author, David N. Myers, on the movie, which I think that would be interesting to hear Rudy Worldser talk about the movie. He's also in the movie. He plays one of the racers. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, I think he's also in the movie. He has an argument with like his wife or girlfriend in the diner.
I think I remember that.
I think that's him who plays that part. And there's a lot of stuff like that in the movie where it seems random, but I think it is trying to say something more than what you would assume, because again, James Taylor, the character, he only really cares about the car, and that's kind of taking over his life. And he doesn't really do anything other than that. Whereas these other drivers, they have other lives, and you have to kind of pick between the car or the relationship. Seems like the car is winning. It seems like the car wins at the end as well, because, the Laurie Bird character doesn't follow him either.
Well, I mean, the car is like what was left.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a loyalty to that, as like the car was never gonna like drive away. But yeah, there's a bunch of great stuff on there. It's surprisingly a lot of the interviews are pretty long too, like 20 plus minutes.
Damn.
Yeah, a lot of information. There's also the booklet inside, which we have right here. I kind of wanted to go over this little appreciation that Richard Linklater, the filmmaker, he wrote, and Pi hasn't read this yet, and
He called me Pi. He calls me Pi.
Yeah, sorry.
That's like a nickname.
Sorry.
It's just one. It's fine. I just like people would be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. No. Peyton hasn't. You haven't read this, but I kind of wanted to go through it because it's basically just these bullet points or a list of all the reasons why Richard Linklater loves Two-Lane Blacktop.
I would love to read that.
And I kind of want to see if we agree with his takes and what he talks about.
All right, so this is 10, and then it says in parentheses 16 actually reasons I love Two-Lane Blacktop by Richard Linklater. Number 1, because it's the purest American road movie ever.
I guess I could kind of agree with that.
I feel like that's a valid take, if anything.
It's a valid take for sure. I'm sure a lot of people will be like, no, it's Easy Rider, or I don't know. I'm sure there's others out there that people could argue, but I do think in a sense of being pure, I do find it valid, yeah.
Number 2, because it's like a drive-in movie directed by a French New Wave director.
Very accurate.
Very true.
Very accurate.
Very true. 3, because the only thing that can get between a boy and his car obsession is a girl, and Laurie Bird perfectly messes up the oneness between the driver, the mechanic, and their car. That is a great point.
Yes.
That is a fantastic point.
Yeah.
Number 4, because Dennis Wilson gives the greatest performance ever by a drummer. Could be true. I can't think of a better one.
Yeah, I can't think of any drummer that's acted. Ringo's been in a few stuff, but I think he's a pretty bad actor from what I've seen.
Number 5, because James Taylor seems like a refugee from a Robert Bresson movie and has the chiseled looks of Artaud from Dreyer's The Passion of Joan of Arc.
Oh, okay. I guess so.
I mean, the Robert Bresson comment, I guess I would agree. I've seen some stuff from him, but I haven't seen The Passion of Joan of Arc.
Bresson is very quiet as well, and very
it actually
meticulous.
It's an interesting comparison.
Yeah.
Number 6, because there was once a god who walked the earth named Warren Oates.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Be honest, did you write that one in?
No, Warren Oates, I love that man today. Like, he's so great.
Number 7, because there is a continuing controversy over who is the actual lead in this movie. There are different camps. Some say it's the 55 Chevy, some say it's the GTO, but I'm a goat man. I have a GTO 68.
That's where we disagree.
I think the cars actually have credits in this movie.
That's true. They do credit the cars as, the cars.
And I think that's really cool.
I think that's one of the coolest. I think if I ever make a movie, I'll do that too.
Number 8, because it has the most purely cinematic ending in film history. I don't know about in film history.
Maybe not in film history, but I do agree that it's one of the great endings, at least for me, and I guess for Richard Linklater, because it shows that when he's a driver, and when he's in that moment, that is like the only moment he cares about. It's a moment he wants to be in all the time and forever, and it just it kind of slows down and stops time in that moment, and it burns out the film.
That is actually a super cool ending and super cinematic in that way. It's like, it's almost like the movie lets him kind of die there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's like the perfect, that's where he wants to be, and you could almost look into it and maybe like he dies after that, or that's but I do love the ending a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Number 9, because it's like a Western, the guys are like old-time gunfighters, ready to outdraw the quickest gun in town, and they don't talk about the old flames they've had, but rather old cars they've had. You kind of went into that earlier a little bit. Yeah. So we definitely agree with that. Number 10, because Warren Oates has a different cashmere sweater for every occasion, and of course the wet bar in the trunk.
Yeah, that's pretty fun how he just has like...
And isn't that him in the picture in the background? Yeah. Yeah, behind the list there. Number 11, because unlike other films of the era, with the designer alienation of the drug culture and the war protesters, this movie is about the alienation of everybody else, like Robert Frank's The Americans Come Alive.
Yeah, like that's basically what I was saying. Yeah, it's like all these other movies are like very out there and about, the hippies and the drugs and very extravagant. This is way more low key and about almost more of the everyday man loneliness.
Number 12, because Warren Oates, as GTO, orders a hamburger and an Alka-Seltzer and says things like, everything is going too fast and not fast enough. That's one of those things that I love when people do, is they're like, I just love this movie because this one thing happens. Yeah. And this guy is just doing this stuff,
No, yeah, it's a great scene because I think he's mad at the two guys for leaving him, and he kind of sits down with them as they're like about to eat or eating.
No, yeah, I remember.
And then the waitress just comes up. He's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "I'll get a cheeseburger and an Alka-Seltzer." He's like, "I'll just hang out with these guys, I guess."
Yeah. No, I remember that. He's a little defeated in that moment. It's great. Number 13, because it's both the last film of the 60s, even though it came out in 71, and also the first film of the 70s. That great era of how the hell did they ever get that film made at a studio? Hollywood would never do that today type of films. Absolutely true.
Yes. That's, again, like I said, we need to go back to this, where they're making some changes with like what they're putting out. Put out something smaller and more intimate, and something that actually means something to people, rather than something big and extravagant and stupid that is fun every once in a while, but you're not always going to go back to it and remember.
Yeah, they don't consider movies like these good investments anymore. Yeah. Number 14, because engines have never sounded better in a movie.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
The 55 Chevy sounds amazing in this movie.
Number 15, because these two young men on their trip to nowhere don't really know how to talk. The driver doesn't really converse when he's behind the wheel, and the mechanic doesn't really talk when he's working on the car. So this is primarily a visual, atmospheric experience. To watch this movie correctly is to become absorbed into it. I don't feel like I quite got there. Yeah. I think I need to watch it a couple more times, but I completely understand it's a vibes movie, like we were saying earlier. Number 16, and above all else, because 2-Lane Blacktop goes all the way with its idea, and that's a rare thing in the world, a completely honest movie. I love that.
Yeah.
I
No.
truly love that because that's so true. I like when movies, they have ideas and they don't think their own ideas are stupid. They don't undermine their own ideas, and they don't think that, oh, we're going to do this thing and it's silly, so we have to acknowledge that it's silly. We have to acknowledge that other people might not like it. And it's like, no, I like movies that don't really cater to anyone who doesn't understand what's going on. It's just like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a completely sincere movie. So, yeah.
There's also a poem in here by Tom Waits, the singer and actor, that I want to read as well. It says, "A race for pink slips between a 55 Chevy and a GTO across a long gone America when the road was much more than a shopping aisle. 3 road hogs and an underage girl riding in the back with the tools. The nights are warm and the roads are straight. This one's built from scratch, and as Warren Oates says, those satisfactions are permanent." I love that those satisfactions are permanent quote.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me before.
Yeah, I actually so I was writing a script and I couldn't figure out a title, and I thought about this movie, "Those satisfactions are permanent." And I was like, that's such a great quote. And so I named the script Permanent Satisfactions because I don't know, there's just something about it. There's like that I just really like. It's just a really good quote. It's actually at the bottom of
The
DVD of the Criterion, which I also want to talk about the DVD version of the Criterion because that's a much cooler presentation of the movie than the Blu-ray, which is just your usual just clear case, where that one is kind of like the little booklets that they would do for like 4Ks or something.
Yeah.
And it also comes with the script of the movie, which is really cool.
Yeah, it has a digibook here.
Yeah, and I want to read that script at some point because, again, I'm curious how they even wrote this movie because it is a very quiet film, and the talking is very sparse.
I mean, the screenplay's not that thick.
It's not that thick, but, I mean, you could fit anything in that size.
True.
But yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that for the Blu-ray release. Like, why are you giving me less supplements? Give me more. I want more. Hopefully, maybe they'll put out a 4K of this and just like do that, but with the same style of the DVD release.
Right.
Hopefully, if that were to happen, I'm snagging that immediately. But I don't know. I find that interesting that Criterion would do that. They should stop doing that. Just release everything that they originally had. But yeah, that's basically all that comes with the Criterion, and that's why I wanted to talk about it specifically as a Criterion because it is so meaty. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's packed.
It's a good one to get. But I personally love it a lot. Like
Absolutely.
a lot. And I think it's just a good movie to at least watch. At least once watch it and just kind of vibe with it. And you kind of get a sense of what the times were like back then.
I'm going to watch it again with Linklater's points in mind. And yours as well.
Yeah. But I highly recommend it. At least to watch it. I guess you don't have to blind buy it if you don't want to. I'm not trying to force anybody to do that, but it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. So I gave it 3 apples out of 5. Apples in the box out of 5, as we like to say. Pretty good. I didn't really feel any kind of special way about it, but things grow on me all the time. So we'll see with the future watches.
Yeah. Obviously, I give it 5 apples in the box. I guess for a little bit of context, another reason why I love it so much is because when I was in high school, I had friends who were really into cars, and one of them was like basically a mechanic, and he fixed up an old El Camino by himself, and we would like cruise around in that car almost like people did in the 50s and 60s, just listening to music and like hanging out and chilling out, and it just reminded me of that time and of my life, and I think that's another reason why I loved it so much, was because it actually reminded me of like what I used to do. Back
yeah,
in the day.
that makes a lot of sense.
So if that's the type of person you are, you'll probably like this movie as well.
Definitely.
We just wanted to kind of give out a few questions to you all guys. Like, what's your favorite road trip movie? Do you have one?
Y Tu Mama Tambien, probably mine.
So good.
We also discussed Almost Famous. I think we both agree is one of the better ones.
Yeah, that is, yeah. It's a road. They kind of fly as well, but yeah, it's mostly in the bus.
It's a trip movie for sure. And then
Duel, great, so good. Is it a road trip movie? I don't know, but
if you cheat a little bit,
it's a car movie.
Yeah.
What's your favorite car movie? I guess it should have been the question as well.
I like Christine.
Christine is so good. And it's a car with who's a character as well.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of them that I can't even think about. No.
Favorite American New Wave movie, I would say Graduate or Last Picture Show for me, maybe.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. It's actually hard, and I'm not just saying that because, but man, I actually couldn't pick one because it's kind of broad. Because the American New Wave wasn't just like genre based, it was like a movement. Like there's so many different directors and actors a part of it, that I don't know if I could pick one. It's actually like one of my favorite like eras of film, especially American film. But I mean, you got everybody from Spielberg to Coppola, Brian De Palma, Friedkin.
Yeah, I'm sure if I thought more about it, I would also have trouble.
Yeah, it's there's too many to even but I agree. The Graduate is one of my favorites as well. I guess you could say French Connection might be in there.
Yeah, that's
somewhere.
a good one.
That's one of my favorites. Chinatown.
Oh, if that counts, then yeah. See,
Yeah.
I have to kind of reconsider.
Yeah, there's
like,
because it's not like a genre; it's more of a movement of like filmmakers like trying to push the boundaries of what they could do.
Exactly.
Last one, favorite James Taylor song.
I don't have one. I don't have one.
I know
you know I don't have one, but you have one.
Well, yeah, like I said, Fire and Rain, it's the most popular song, but I love that. Pretty much anything on his Best Of album is a winner for me. I love Mexico. I love him. Walking Man. Her Town 2 is a great one. I love Her Town 2. He's one of my favorite. All of his stuff. He actually just put out a record. No, he didn't just put out. He put out a record like maybe a couple of years ago. Maybe a bit more than a couple of years ago. It's been a while actually. But he just did a bunch of like American classic covers of like old songs like from plays and Broadway and from the 50s, and that it's so good. Like if you're into like older Americana music from like stuff your grandparents would listen to, he put out a cover of a bunch of songs like that, and they're so good. But yeah, I love this movie. I love James Taylor. I love Warren Oates.
It's a good movie.
Monty Hellman. Fun fact: Monty Hellman produced Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, good investment.
Yeah. But that was it. We kind of went a little longer than I expected, but
no,
there was
good.
a lot to talk about.
You had a lot to explore with this movie, and I mean, I didn't really contribute that much, but I learned a lot.
Yeah, and I hope you guys learned a lot too. Yeah, that's kind of what we want to do here.
That's what it's all about. All right, well, thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to follow us on this platform. Follow us on other platforms. Share the podcast, rate the podcast, all that good stuff. Come back next week for the next episode. We release episodes every Monday, and that's it.
Yeah.
I've been Peyton.
And I've been Adrian.
And we'll see you next time on the Apple Box.